Welcome to Season 4 of the Nova Hoopcast, our second season on video, our fourth season overall, as we had a podcast series before that. Busta, thanks for taking the lead behind the camera again. Brian Doyle, Kevin Weirin, we're here at Riverside High School in the locker room. Kevin, thanks for setting us up in here. Let's get to it. Season has already started. I don't want to start on a down note. However, I do want to talk about some of the guys who are not playing this year. We've had some significant injuries around the area, so let me go through a few of them. Obviously, one strikes very close to home for you, but Chris Kozemka at Centerville, point guard, really good point guard over there, transferred over from Paul VI last year. He tore his ACL at basketball camp during the summer. Yeah. He's a football player too, so that had a significant impact not only on Centerville's football season, but will have an impact on their basketball season.
But good news for Chris,
well.
He is a junior. He'll be coming back for his senior year, so I know he'll come back strong and be ready.
Yep, and he's involved with the team. I saw him on the bench, the other day when I watched him play. Angelo Easter from Freedom South Riding, again,
exciting player,
great
for Freedom.
Football and basketball player. He injured his knee, ACL
in a football game,
yep,
and,
so
and it's going to be out the whole basketball season.
Right.
Sad news for Angelo, he is a senior, so we feel bad about that, but great kid.
So another one, Simon Weirin from Riverside, senior, injured his knee in the first quarter of the first football game. So missing his whole senior football and basketball season. I would say this, thank God, and obviously I know Simon personally, but he really had an outstanding junior season, had a great AAU season. At least he has that memory and that experience to kind of finish his career on, but really tough break for him tearing his ACL. Tough as a father, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you're looking forward to that season.
I think it's been harder on me than it has been on him. He's bounced back very well with rehab and mentally, and is doing well and doing a lot of the college stuff that all seniors are doing. But it is tough, and you never want to see a high school kid get hurt. Right. Not your own kid, obviously, not anyone else's kid, because they have such a short amount of time, and as lovers of high school basketball, we know how fleeting it can be, and the memories you make, especially your senior year. I have some great memories from playing my senior year, and that's the one thing I kind of feel bad for my son that he doesn't have that. But these kids are resilient, they will bounce back. It's part of the game, and the ACL, as we know, is a big part of injuries. Not only in the high school level, but college and beyond. So it's been a tough fall, but you push through, and it's part of life. There's, like we always say at home, there's worse things that could happen. That's for sure. And
fortunately for Angelo Easter and Simon, they both had outstanding junior years, so they might not have that perspective right now. But as an older guy and a coach and a parent, I can look at it as someone who's a little bit removed from it, unlike you. I do think they will have really good memories of very successful junior years, so I'm glad for them that at least they had that. Drew Rowson, who we all know through AAU and through our local high school basketball contacts for Robinson, he injured his knee just the other night.
I talked to mom and dad last night, and they're hoping they're expecting the worst, hoping for the best. So we hope that things go well for Drew. Was poised to have a phenomenal year for Robinson, and I hope that still happens for him. But again, another knee issue for him possibly. Yeah,
and on another note, Devon Parrish, who played at Patriot, had really an outstanding career at Patriot. He's down at Christopher Newport. He just tore his ACL, so good thoughts for him. Fortunately, he's a freshman, and I'm sure he'll work hard in his rehab and have a successful career there. So it's just something to think about on so many levels, not only just the personal story that you talked about a little bit as a parent and for those kids, especially the seniors, but on a less important level, you got to wonder about the impact it has on their teams. And again, all those guys I mentioned, Kozemka, Easter, Simon Weirin, Drew Rowson, really all very good players and very important parts of their team. And as a coach, we've both been through that. It's one thing I would say with Chris Kozemka and Simon and Angelo, they've all gotten hurt before the season started, so their coaches have had the opportunity to at least plan how are we going to make up for that. I don't know that anyone can fill that void. It's very hard as a coach, no matter what, but it's really hard when it happens during the season, and all of a sudden, like the next day, you've got to put a plan in place to try to overcome the loss of somebody like that. The other interesting thing is we're talking about guys who are all, for the most part, guards.
Yeah.
And we talk again a lot on this, and we're not the only ones, but talk about how it's a guard's game.
It is a guard's game.
And the things that guards can do to control the game, from handling the ball to defending to scoring, not to minimize the impact of bigger guys, but guards really have an opportunity to impact a game and kind of control pace and so many different things. So it's a real blow to a team when you lose somebody like that. So.
Two quick thoughts before we move on to some more positive stuff.
Yeah.
Quentin Avilas here at Riverside, junior forward for the Rams, we believe tore his Achilles. So another big injury here at Riverside besides Simon. But if Quentin's watching, I hope he recovers. Great kid. They call him Q here. Just a phenomenal personality. And then anyone else who we missed. I'm sure we might have missed people in Prince William and Fairfax. We just hope that things do go well for you if you are injured and you're able to come back. And if you're not, there's more important things in life out there, and life will move on. So.
Yeah, so we didn't want to start on a down note, however, we didn't want to neglect those kids. Those are kids we would have been talking about a lot on this Hoopcast. So good thoughts to those guys. We're sure they'll all work hard in their rehab and come back and hopefully be good players, but also be stronger people maybe as a result of going through this. So let's move on to some more things going on the court.
Yeah.
A ton of tip-off tournaments,
Oh,
Kevin.
my
I know
goodness.
you've got
I'm going to rattle them off because there's
All right.
a lot. There's 11 tip-off tournaments that we know of we're going to discuss. And I like them because you're mixing counties. And
Right.
there's a lot of Loudoun County, Prince William, and Fairfax crossing over with one another, and then some private schools as well. But let's start off at a tournament that you were involved in, the Fairfax City Shootout, where Chantilly, a little bit of surprise, goes 2-0 with wins over Garfield and Osborne.
Yeah, good for Chantilly and Jim Smith. Probably two main storylines there. One, I think most people, I'm biased because I coach at Fairfax, but most people expected Fairfax to win that tournament.
I think it's an upset.
Yeah, great win for Rocky Carter and Osborne. Props to them. A little bit of a rebuilding year. They've been pretty good for a number of years.
They got Manny Ojo.
They got Manny Ojo. I'll tell you what, the other story to that is when they beat us, we did a really good job on Manny Ojo, and they had other guys step up and win. So I think it was a successful tournament for them, even though they didn't win it. Chantilly, so the other story is Chantilly, like several other teams in our area, are implementing the Lake Braddock style now and racing up and down the court. And obviously,
speaking of injuries, we just discussed them. Did they have Chris Myers?
Chris Myers is not back yet. He's coming off shoulder surgery. He's their best player. I don't think there's any disputing that.
So.
They got a couple of other kids that can play a little bit. So when they come back playing that style, I would look for Chris Myers when he's fully healthy. He'll be able to score
Great athlete.
mid-20s in that style at least. So very interesting to see when teams try to implement a new style. We've talked about that a lot over the years. So good championship for Chantilly.
Moving on to the Langley tip-off, is Madison going 2-0 with close wins over Langley and McLean. Coach Roller doing a great job per usual. I believe Soren, their big forward, but is still a little banged up. So those are some impressive wins for a team that's missing their best player.
Yep.
Moving on to DMV Nova Classic, had some Prince William teams participating in that, Fairfax team as well. You had Forest Park winning, Annandale beating Anacostia from DC, Woodbridge losing to Verina from Richmond, and then Osborne Park lost to Bowie. So that's some interesting games that you don't normally see. The Justice tip-off, Falls Church goes 2-0 with wins over Mount Vernon and Rock Ridge from Loudoun. Caleb Botts doing a really good job scoring for Falls Church so far. The Heritage tip-off, which I went to, and 2 Prince William teams, 2 Loudoun teams. Heritage goes 2-0, impressive 2-0 with wins over Stonewall and Hilton. We talked about this last year. I still think Prince William is very young, but they are athletic and they do have some talent. But some close wins for Heritage, and I really think they're led by junior Max James. He had a really good tournament and can rebound and can score. Moving on to the Red Jenkins tip-off, Edison goes 2-0 with a big win over Tuscarora and then hosts Woodson. And then we have a milestone there for a friend of ours, a friend of the show.
A couple milestones we'll talk about as we wrap up these tip-off tournaments. Jerry Lynn at Marshall getting win number 1 for him. It's the perfect fit for him at Marshall. He played for you there. He's taught and worked in the building for many years. He still lives in the community. So it's great to finally see him sitting in the first seat there at Marshall and for him to get his first win in that Red Jenkins tip-off tournament. Congrats to Jerry. We'll have him back on. By popular demand, I think our Christmas show, our holiday show.
Everyone wants him to wear the super small
the
Santa hat.
yes.
Yeah, a lot of people commenting about that.
We'll get him back on.
Quick note about that, I was there to watch Jerry's game, and Jack Taylor can play. If you haven't seen the dunk that I posted yesterday, pretty awesome.
Yeah, what do you have, like 28 and 34 or something like that in their 2 games?
Very, very strong player, looked really good.
Junior, too.
Yeah, junior, and he's got some other good juniors as well. Jaden White for Tuscarora also looked good in that game. Moving on to the Broadway tournament, which is kind of outside of our area, but Potomac Falls went down there and went 2-0.
Another milestone. Coach Jeff Hawes gets win number 400.
400.
So I did call.
We're kind of in the hundreds, so we never quite got 200.
Yeah. So I haven't talked to Jeff yet, and I don't know if you have either.
No,
but we'll certainly call him and congratulate him. But I did speak to Jerry Lynn this morning. I said, you're only 399 wins behind Coach Hawes.
That's right.
But to show how old we are, Coach Hawes and I used to have some good battles when we were both JV coaches. I was at Paul VI.
I remember the hugs. There was a lot of
hugs from Jeff.
Coach Hawes, you know about the hugs.
It's weird that I remember us going against each other as JV coaches, and now he has 400 wins.
Right.
So congratulations to him. They go down to that tournament every year, don't they?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last year. Opportunity for them to get away from the area, do a little bit of team bonding.
Right.
Some people do it at Christmas. I like the idea of doing it in the fall, beginning of the season.
Right.
Back here to Loudoun, the Loudoun County or the Loco Sports tip-off. Champ goes 2-0. They're led by the Jasper Twins. I don't know if people.
The Jasper Twins.
The Jasper Twins. I don't know if you've seen them play, but they're transfers from Highland, and very talented. Very quick, and had a great tournament for them where they had wins over Woodgrove and Loudoun County High School, the host. So I think there will be kids we'll talk about again.
Right.
Over at Freedom South Riding, the explosive performance tournament, Briar Woods goes 2-0. I knew they were going to be a good team, but they had nice wins over Robinson and Battlefield, 2 good teams.
So Freedom going 0-2 in that tournament.
Little
I'm
surprising.
a little surprised by that. We at Fairfax scrimmaged them, and they've got Lance Johnson, of course, and Robbie Kemmerer.
Yep.
They're good players. Now, they lost Angelo Easter, and I think maybe we're seeing the impact of that a little bit. But they've got a winning culture going on. I'm impressed with what Justin Powers does as a coach. I think they'll be fine, but I was a little bit surprised.
Well, you know, you lost a game maybe you shouldn't have lost
Right.
on paper to Osborne. Freedom loses 2 games early. Not the end of the world.
Right.
Maybe takes a little pressure off. I know if Fairfax, you have so many seniors coming back, so many kids returning, and I know that Freedom has high expectations after going all the way to the state finals last year and losing, but having people like Lance and Robbie coming back, so maybe it takes a little pressure.
Yeah, you're right, and helps you, maybe get the kids' attention, with everything that's said on social media these days and rankings and all of that, kids see that stuff too. So as a coach, when you take a loss or 2 early in the season that maybe you or your kids are both expected to win, it's an attention getter, and you can kind of turn that around as a positive.
Wrapping up with our tip-off tournaments, we have Manassas Park going 2-0 in their tournament, beating Colgan from Prince William, a much larger school than Manassas Park, and then also getting a win over Page County. And then last but not least, the Readers Are Leaders, which is a program that a friend of ours, Wendell Bird, put together years ago, where high school basketball players go into elementary schools and work with kids on reading. Great cause. Hosted by South Lakes. South Lakes goes 2-0 over a good Centerville team and a good Hayfield team.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to go to the Centerville Patriot game in that tournament. And Centerville, we talked about Chris Kazemka being out. They've got an imposing front line with Lance Douglas, Micaiah Washington as a transfer from out of state, and then Avery Ford, who came over from Paul VI.
Had a great football season.
Yeah, he did have a good football season. Those guys are, those are big physical kids, athletic kids. But they do miss Chris Kazemka, so in the backcourt. They've got some returning guys, Connor Shanton and John Hunter. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, but they are definitely an imposing group. Patriot, on the other hand, I don't want to say rebuilding, I would say building, because Sherman Rivers has a really good program out there, but they lost a tremendous group. And so they'll eventually be good. I think they're a little bit inexperienced right now.
I would say overall that's been my vibe so far of Prince William with the teams that I've seen.
Right.
Talented but a little bit younger, and I think they'll get better as the year goes on.
Right.
But those are the 11, a lot of tip-off tournaments that we were paying attention to. And like I said, a good opportunity for teams to kind of get their feet wet, play schools from different districts, and a lot of good basketball going
Right,
on.
right. Let's talk maybe about some of the other games that we've seen, whether it's, scrimmages, a little video, or been out visiting some games. I saw Annandale and Lee play. Interesting, Kevin, I talked to you about that when we were kind of in our prime. Now, we're over the hill now, but we were in our prime going over to Lee. They had some tremendous teams over there with Val Brown and Chris Gooden.
And we talked about it before the show. I mean, Brian and I went to watch Herndon, led by Gary Hall, for those
Right.
people who've been around for a while now in Texas coaching. Herndon was ranked in the Post.
Yeah,
And had maybe the #1 team, which is, you don't see that a whole lot, having a public school ranked #1. And I think a friend of ours, Scott Bach Hansen, tweeted to the Washington Post this week about, hey, what are we doing? Why aren't we ranking more teams? So that was one of the few times Herndon was ranked
Right.
#1. And you and I were in that lead gym, shoulder to shoulder, getting
Yeah.
a seat for the Sir Valiant Brown
Right,
show.
right.
One of the most athletic, most dynamic players ever to come out of
yeah,
Fairfax County, who went on to play at GW, and I think went to play in the D League and some
Right.
other places. But
right.
yeah, things have changed a little bit there.
Yeah. So the Annandale Lee game, Lee's young and the community's different now. They might struggle a little bit. But Annandale's got some young kids. They got a couple freshmen, a couple sophomores. John Awoke had 9 points. He's a freshman. Max Lanham's a sophomore. He had 11. They've got another sophomore, Emmanuel Tucker. Jody Mabon, another freshman. The old guy, Ryan Adams, is a senior, had 18. I think Coach Gilreath over there has some young guys that they might be up and down a little bit this year since they're young, but I think they've got some building blocks for the future over there. I mentioned the Centerville Patriot game I saw, and that front line that Centerville has. I've seen Freedom, we scrimmaged them, Lance Johnson, Robbie Kemmer, again, a little slight surprise with them going 0-2, but I
Right.
think they'll be fine. Osborne, you mentioned Manny Ojo for Osborne. He's a really good player, and to me, the most impressive thing about Osborne, Rocky kind of has his culture firmly in place there. I think the players in the community all buy in, which is so big to get that. And what was impressive to me about Osborne when we played them is that we kind of took Manny out of the game, and they still had some contributions from some other guys and found a way to win. We talked about Chantilly and the style they're playing, and Chris Myers, coming back, I think, very soon. Any other games you saw, Kevin?
I saw the Riverside Hilton game. I mentioned that Hilton was very young with some talented players. I'm very impressed by Bo Everett, who we
Right.
talked about last year on the show. He's a senior now. He's a guard, captain, leader. He had over 20 points both games.
Right.
And he looked strong. Michael Ziller from Riverside can definitely shoot the ball. And then I mentioned the Marshall Tuscarora game that I saw. Jaden White for Tuscarora, real good slasher. They've got a kid named Jack Clark at Tuscarora, can shoot the ball. Jack Taylor, obviously, great athlete. Ili Huang played well for Marshall when Jack Taylor was out with some foul trouble. So those are the two games I watched.
Right.
You mentioned scrimmages. I want to throw out that I saw Dominion High School from here in Loudoun County and thought they were very good.
Right.
They've got a lot of talent coming back. Max Mancuso had a great game, had 5 or 6 threes, or scrimmage rather. Jaden Hickey's a very savvy point guard for them. They've got some other returners coming back. So they're going to be a very good team in Loudoun as well. And,
Right.
I know we're not getting into the districts specifically on this show, but I would say, there's 2 districts out here. I guess 3 if you count that Chant plays in the Cedar Run now because they're a 6A school, but in the 4A classification here in Loudoun, you're looking at Valley being very good again, Dominion being close. Loudoun County has Mark Siegel, who came back from private school to compete with Matt Anderson, a very good guard out here.
Right.
At Loudoun County High School. So I would say those would be in the top 3 teams somewhere.
Who's the best team in Loudoun?
Ugh.
We'll get into top teams.
Let me go back to the Potomac District real quick, because in the Potomac District, you have Potomac Falls is gonna be
Right.
good, Freedom's gonna be good, Briar Woods, we already talked about. Stonebridge is gonna be good. I think people are not really paying attention to
People
them.
sleeping on
I
Stonebridge?
think they are sleeping on Stonebridge. They're gonna be a good team, so those would be the top 4. I don't know where they're gonna finish, but
Right.
top team, I would have said Freedom South Riding coming in, just based on how they did last
Yeah.
year. And then here they go 0-2, so I think Valley's gonna be very good. They've got a good senior group, so time will tell, but those 7 teams I gave you are gonna be the top teams. I don't know much about Champ, but with the Jasper Twins, I think they're gonna be good too, so.
Yeah. I can't help but go back to the injuries because Angelo Easter would have put Freedom South Riding over the top. When you add a third guy, along with Lance Johnson, Robbie Kimmerer, and a guard, and then with Riverside, Simon, I think Simon Weirin would do the things that helped you win from one game to the next, whether it be shut somebody down defensively, or if you needed him to score, he would score, if he needed to facilitate. So he was, sometimes people look at the phrase glue guy as a negative. I look at it as a real positive. I think Simon would do whatever his team needed to do on that night, on any given night, to help his team win. And so I think that the injuries are going to play a significant factor in Loudon too.
What about Fairfax? I mean, we'll go to Prince William
Well,
after that, but
yeah.
South County?
Yeah,
maybe usual
I would say
suspects?
South County, clear top team. Maybe I'm giving people bulletin board material, but I think they are. I don't think there's
I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, it is. Andre Spate and Trenton Pico. They're really good. They look like a college team when they walk in
They
the
do.
gym.
They've got
And
the
then
size.
I would still say Lake Braddock after them. They lost a lot, Sam Grable and Quentin James, but they have David Solomon back, who is arguably
Man-child.
he's a sophomore now, and he might be. He could be the best player in the region, in the area as a sophomore. I think he's trying to expand his game and be a little bit more versatile playing the perimeter. Jimmy Anderson is good, and their style, again, Coach Mitras knows what he's doing. They've got several years of experience in that style, so they just kind of plug
kids
new
in.
guys in.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to play against. So I would say SoCo, Lake Braddock.
Fairfax, a lot of people would say coming in. would be
Yeah,
one of those teams, yeah.
I would. Season's only 2 games old for Fairfax, but we're it's not we're 1-1, but haven't played exceptionally well in either game. So we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities. It's going to be an interesting season. I think in the whole region, I think it's going to take a little while for things to shake out. I don't think there's, other than South County and maybe Braddock after them, I think in the whole area, there's some parity, and it'll be very interesting to see.
I think South Lake's gonna be better than people think
Yeah.
too. I know they lost a great guard in Cam Savage, but
Right.
they've got some good returners, and they've got it up and running under Mike Desmond, who got his first wins
Yeah.
too. We didn't really get to
Right.
give a shout out
Good
to
job,
Mike.
Mike.
So
Shout out to Mike
Mike
right
got,
now.
he's 2. He's
Yeah.
up on Jerry's.
He's got
2-0.
twice.
Jerry's
He's got
1-0.
twice as many wins as Jerry.
That's right. That's right.
So, and he's another guy that we were talking before we came on about just the path people take to become head coaches, and Mike Desmond has also paid his dues. He's been on the scene for a long time. We remember him when he played
Great player,
at
Chantilly. Yeah.
but he's been around as far as being an assistant coach and being involved in the AAU and the whole thing for quite a while now. So I think he's very well prepared. I did run into Andrew Duggan over at South Lakes, who seemed to be struggling like many of us do in his first year away from sitting on the bench. I was trying to talk to him, but he was watching the Seahawks play and was coaching him up from his spot along the wall there.
Hard not to.
But I know he's also happy and proud that Mike Desmond has this opportunity. So good for him.
I don't know if we want to go any further to the best teams. We leave that for Chris Jolly at Nova
Right,
Hoops.com,
right.
because he's
the Nova 19.
he's got the guts to put it out on
Yeah,
social media who he thinks the best teams are, but we don't usually get into that too much. But
right.
I think you're right. In Fairfax, there's going to be a lot of different teams in the mix, and we'll see who ends up at the end. Prince William is hard to tell. I really don't think there's a dominant team. I think Patriots definitely got a chance. I saw the Stonewalls and Hiltons. I know that Potomac is always good and picked up a win this week as well. So
Right.
I'm very unsure.
Battlefield be in the mix.
Yeah, Battlefield, but they lost a game over at
Right.
Freedom South Riding
Yeah.
to Robinson. So actually to Briar Woods, I think.
Yeah.
So you never know who's going to be good in Prince William, but that's the fun of it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what we gotta
that's
get
what
out.
that's what makes it so exciting is that that's why they play the games and a month from now we'll know a lot more than we do right now. Things will start to shake out a little bit. Kevin, let's talk a little bit. We've talked a little bit previously about like style of play, and we mentioned Braddock's been doing their thing for a few years now. They made the infamous switch like over Christmas break one year where they were playing Princeton and then they came back and in a calculated move, Coach Mitras switches to the up-tempo like Grinnell College style system. So now Chantilly's trying to implement that. Yorktown is trying to implement that. I think Heritage is doing some new stuff.
Yeah, they
So
platoon kids in out.
It's always interesting to me to see when coaches change a system, and it's a hard thing to do, and I give coaches credit. It takes a lot of work to, you've laid the groundwork and taught the game one way for a number of years, and then you switch up. It's not as easy as coming in one day and saying, okay, now we're gonna do this.
Well, that's the hard part about high school basketball. You don't know who you're gonna have year in and year out. I mean,
Right.
maybe it's injuries, maybe it's transfers, maybe it's graduation, but that's a great style. If that's who you have and you can't recruit for it
Right.
legally, to get people in there. It's not
Legally,
gonna
should we
cost-
get into that a little bit,
Oh my
or?
gosh, not while I'm working for LCPS, there's
Uh-oh.
no talk of that.
All right,
Now, when I'm retired, we'll go more into that, but, yeah, it's a tough call. But I think a lot of people do it out of necessity, they're not sure what they have,
Right.
and kids like it because they're playing a lot, they're getting
Yeah.
in the games, they're not sitting there, so. I would say that it's a gamble. I don't
Yeah.
know that it always works out in high school. It obviously has for Lake Braddock, but I think over the years, a lot of people have tried.
well, you still have to have talent.
Yeah,
You
and that's
know,
what Lake Braddock had.
Right.
I think people would say
Oh,
it
yeah.
was system, and that was definitely a big part of it, and Brian knew that that was the right time to use it at Lake Braddock, but he had really good players last year.
He did. I mean, Quentin James, outstanding. He's a Division I football player, tremendous athlete. Sam Grable was really good, and then Solomon and Nick Margraf was good, Jimmy Anderson, so you add some of those guys
Yeah.
in. So, yeah, I think, bottom line, I think it's gonna be players that win games more than systems.
Right.
But it's interesting to see, and I could see when you feel like you need some sort of jolt of energy or enthusiasm in your program, that making a move like that can certainly help to do it. Fans seem to like it. As a basketball, I don't wanna say purist, but as a student of the game, when I watch that style, it's exciting and fun to watch for a while for me, but, you know, after watching it for a quarter or a couple games, I don't know that it's overly entertaining. I mean, you just see guys race up and down the court and shoot threes.
We're old.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think fans enjoy watching it, so, so there you go. Anything else we want to touch on? or-
I think had a pretty good first show, looking forward to
Yeah.
the next one. Looking forward to getting out and watching different teams play. We'll start making our list of people we want to interview this season on the podcast.
Right.
And looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've had a number of people ask when the first episode's coming on.
How many? 2?
A number of people, Kevin.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
at least 2, maybe 3.
All right. All right.
And actually, I've had a couple people ask me about the Nova Challenge All-Star Game already, which is kind of cool. Finally,
Yes.
you know, we're maybe building some momentum, and
Yes.
just in the last week or two, I've had 2 or 3 different people ask me about where the Nova Challenge is going to be, and we've got
Yeah,
time
work
before
on
we
that
start
too.
talking about that. So, anyway, good first episode.
Yeah,
We'll figure
thanks,
out
Buster.
what
All
guests we're going to have on, and be back next week.
All right.